Hello, I'm Bill Beckham, founder of Franchise Clarity. I've done a few podcasts now that talk about the things you need to watch out for in a franchise disclosure document when considering a franchise opportunity. So today, I wanted to do a case study on a franchise that faced serious legal trouble from its franchisees and retroactively look at the franchise disclosure document to see if I could spot issues that eventually turned up in the lawsuit. Let's look at Premier Martial Arts, a franchise that faced major franchisee lawsuits in 2022. Premier Martial Arts was founded in 2004. It had a noble mission, and that was to use martial arts to improve the lives of children. In 2019, it got into franchising, growing to over 200 units. And then in 2020, it was acquired by Unleashed Brands, a company that owned franchises that specialize in child development, with brands like Sylvan Learning Center and The Little Gym, to name a few. In 2022, Premier Martial Arts and Unleashed Brands were sued by 54 franchisees who were seeking $75 million in damages. The complaint alleged that Premier Martial Arts misrepresented earnings potential, failed to provide promised operational support, and its business model didn't match the reality of running the franchise. What I want to do now is examine the 2020 franchise disclosure document as if I don't know about the lawsuit. Look for red flags and compare those red flags to what was alleged in the lawsuit. Let's get to it. Here are the key red flags that I've identified. Let's start with item 3. Item 3 focuses on litigation. Now, the FDD says that there is no litigation that was required to be disclosed. Now, this doesn't mean that there was no litigation. It could be that it wasn't deemed to be material. So, I call this a yellow flag. If I were working with a client, I would tell that client to consider having an attorney do a deep dive search to see if there's anything out there that could be relevant. Now, how does this relate or compare to the lawsuit? Well, in just 2 years' time, there was a massive lawsuit that was filed. So maybe there were some early warning signs out there. Item 12. Item 12 says that Premier Martial Arts grants a 3-mile radius exclusive territory. This is small given the nature of the business. What if you have customers that come from 5, 6, 7 miles away? Well, Premier Martial Arts had the right to locate a franchise just 5 miles from you, which could put it in competition with you. The lawsuit alleged that there were territory conflicts. Item 21 is where the franchisor provides its financial statements. This is where you can assess the financial health of the franchisor. In this case, Premier Martial Arts financial statements showed that the company was getting the majority of its cash from selling new territories versus royalties from existing franchises. $4.4 million from selling new territories versus $800,000 from existing operating franchises. I call this a red flag because it can indicate that the franchisor is more focused on selling new territories versus the success of its existing franchises. The lawsuit alleged that PMA was focused on selling new territories at the expense of current franchises. Item 8. Item 8 stated that the franchisor can and does require the use of certain suppliers, and it receives rebates from those suppliers. This is a red flag because it can drive up costs and result in subpar performance. In fact, the CEO owned 3 approved vendors, a conflict of interest perhaps. The lawsuit alleged inflated operating costs, conflict of interest, tied to vendor arrangements and subpar performance from some of those vendors. Now let's look at item 19, perhaps the biggest red flag. Item 19 is where the franchisor can share financial data about franchisee performance. Premier Martial Arts provided average gross revenue and average net income. Now here's the red flag. It was only based on 18 units, a subset. The FDD didn't identify which 18 units were selected, nor did it define what was included in the various cost elements, so the data could be skewed. This connects to the litigation because the complaint alleged that actual system profitability was much lower than communicated. To further illustrate this, I used the data in item 21, again, PMA's financial statements, to calculate the average gross revenue for all of their units. While the FDD said that the average revenue for those 18 units in 2019 was close to $400,000 and average net income was $159,000, actual average revenue was $168,000 and the average facility lost money. The actual performance was far lower than what was provided in item 19. Let's wrap this up. The case eventually moved to arbitration where it was settled for an undisclosed sum. Premier Martial Arts remains in business to this day. The key takeaway is that due diligence must go beyond the FDD and the franchisor's marketing pitch. Lawsuits don't happen overnight. The signs can often be found in the FDD and other sources if you know where to look. Franchising can be a wonderful opportunity, but up to 50% fail within the first 5 years, so caution is warranted. Now subscribe if you like this video. If you're thinking about investing in a franchise, use this QR code or the link in the description to set up a free, no obligation intro call. Until next time.